welcome to Carousel. Tonight we're going to hop on the carousel and look for interesting people and talk about interesting subjects as we do every week. I'm honored tonight to welcome our guest, Mark Lyons, who is a 10-time Emmy Award winner for his producing of children's news programming on Nickelodeon. So welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. So tell us a little bit. We're going to watch a couple of your snippets from your most recent Emmy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, there's not many people who can say that they've won 10 Emmy Awards in their lifetime. So tell me a little bit how you got involved. You started with NBC.
I did. I began in the business as an NBC page, which was a terrific job to have to start out in the business about 32 years ago.
Wow.
Everybody knows pages as being ushers when there's a studio show on NBC, but when they're not ushering, they're interns in the various departments of the network. So you really learn about the business. And I met a lot of people that I'm still in touch with today that are working in the business. So it was a great experience.
So you really, it's funny that you explained a page because that's exactly what I thought was more of an usher. And but you really had some hands-on work.
You're really like an intern inside the network, and you move from department to department, and it's a great experience.
And obviously, over those 32 years, you've excelled to be, you know, a wonderful producer now. As I said, Emmy Award winning. And I think what we'll do to start the program is have a look at some of your programming that recently won the Emmy.
Sure.
And so we have our piece on kids of alcoholics, and we're going to show, what is it, a 30-second clip?
This is a clip. The show I produce is called Nick News with Linda Ellerby. It's on Nickelodeon. The host is Linda Ellerby. She's also the executive producer.
Okay, great.
And all 10 Emmys are from that show. So this is one of the recent ones about kids of alcoholics. It's called Under the Influence.
Under the Influence. Okay, so while the folks cue that up for us, can you tell us a little bit about how you chose this particular subject? Is this?
Well, we have story meetings regularly at our place,
okay.
And this topic came up because
I don't want them to see her drunk. My dad is something he would really want. She chose that.
they do post, so we can trim that so that we're.
You're going to introduce the clip, say, let's go to the next video.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll roll the clip, because I think we took it a little bit too early, thinking we're going to talk over it.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know why we're not hearing that.
Yeah, there's no audio out here on it.
Let me try to work on that.
Okay.
Tina, I'm sorry. Does that mean we're redoing it?
No.
Okay.
Give choice and start, because they don't want to run the tape over, which they just did. So we say roll the tape, just give them a second to get the tape going.
Okay. Okay.
But do we need to go back and do what we just did? Okay.
Still can't hear that, huh?
Not really.
I hear it here. I hear it faintly, but it's there.
I had someone that I didn't know, but I knew his face. My name's Sam. I live in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, and my dad's an alcoholic. When my mom was drinking, it felt like we was in a dark part of the world. And when I asked her to stop, she said, "I'm still drinking alcohol and stuff wrong." So now all of a sudden I see her with a pill in my hand. She was addicted to it. My name is Riley. I live in West Eagle, Louisiana, and my mom's alcoholic.
Alcoholism is a disease. It's a tricky and sneaky disease because it convinces you that you don't have it. A Jerry National Director of Children's Programs at Big Four. In the United States, about 1 out of every 4 boys and girls lives in a family and loves someone who has the disease of alcoholism.
Okay, so these are serious topics, certainly.
Yeah.
Beautifully done, very informative. What is your age audience for watching these programs?
About 9 to 14 is what we estimate. We have never shied away from tough topics, and we don't talk down to kids. That's been one of our, how we gained a reputation. And you find that when given the chance, kids will talk about these topics. They don't shy away from them. And we've learned that over the years, that they'll talk about terrorism, they'll talk about AIDS, they'll talk about anything you ask them, and they're smart. And so we've always treated them with respect and given them a voice. We listen more than we try to tell them anything.
Talk or tell. Well, that sounds like an interesting and award-winning philosophy of yours. You started to tell us how sort of a topic comes to be one of your shows. How does that happen? What's the origin?
Usually everybody in our shop will get together. We have story meetings, you know, a few times a year, and people will come in with story ideas. And this one, Kids of Alcoholics, was, we thought, a very compelling topic, since sadly there are about 11 million kids in this country living in a house with one or more alcoholics. And they usually have to keep it a secret, and it's a really sort of a sad existence. So we got to hear them talk about it. And we worked with the Betty Ford Center in identifying kids that would be willing to talk about it.
That can't be an easy task, to find folks, children who are willing to talk.
Right.
So you go through that process and then script it out and
Not
and
scripted.
start.
We let them talk, and then
Really?
we sort of edit it.
You edit it from there.
Right, but it's usually personal stories, interviews with kids, personal stories that then we later cut down.
That you cut and obviously do a remarkable job with.
Well, thank you.
So going back to where, before we saw the clip, you started as a page at NBC, learning the ropes, and obviously you've come a long way.
Well, thank you.
How does that happen? What was the
Step
trajectory?
by step, you sort of try to find your way, you know, past being a page. The idea is to get hired within the company. I ended up going outside the company and then coming back later as a segment producer on a talk show on NBC that didn't last very long, and then I went to another talk show at Lifetime. But most producers will bounce around from show to show. Then I got lucky and landed on this particular program, where I've been for 21 years.
21 years.
Yeah.
So when you started this program, you have 2 children?
I do.
Okay, and so 21 years. Did they inform your, you know, when they were younger?
A little bit. In the beginning, we were doing a series where it was segmented, and there'd be lighter subjects with some of the heavier things, and we'd have on popular rock stars or acts like that, and they would help me try to identify some of the
Who were the
things
cool ones
that kids would want to watch.
Oh, interesting.
But as the show went on, we ended up really sort of gravitating to the heavier things, and that stuff sort of fell away.
And that's really unique. There's not a lot of programming like this for children ages 9 to 16. You're in a sort of a league of your own, because these are, what are some of the other topics, for example, that you conquer?
We've talked about, autism, AIDS. We talked about 9/11. You know, tough subjects that kids have opinions on.
I bet they do.
Yeah.
And how often does the program come out? How many times a year?
10 times a year.
So it's 10 programs a year that you're producing.
Yes.
That's a lot. So that's almost one a month. Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps us busy.
How far in advance, like, are you into the end of 2014 at this point?
We know what we're going to be doing for the rest of the year. We haven't really gotten there yet, but we're chipping away at it.
And as a producer, what is your role? So you're used to being behind the camera, of course. Here we are in front of the camera, but it's very interesting. Are you the one then that works with the Betty Ford Center to sort of figure things out and who you can interview?
I oversee the producers who go into the field and actually shoot and bring the footage back, and we edit it in-house. So I oversee the whole process so that we know, okay, we're going to do that story, and it's going to be 4 or 5 kids, and there's one in San Antonio, and there's one in LA, and how are we going to get it all done? And we usually have another show going at the same time. So 2 teams working simultaneously.
Now, do you go on site to these places?
The producers are all on location.
They're all
we
on
just
location.
did a show about Syrian refugee kids living in a refugee camp in Jordan, and we went there, and it was pretty intense. That show will air in a couple of weeks.
Oh,
it's called Fleeing Syria, Children of War.
Wow, that is a serious topic. And the children that you spoke with then were in Syria, or were you talking to American children about
they were actually,
the issue?
No, they were in the camp. These were Syrian kids who we translated.
Wow, okay. So
pretty intense.
We'll look for your next Emmy Award on that one, I'm sure.
Thank you.
No question. So one of your other shows that won an Emmy recently, which is another tough topic to approach, is a piece about AIDS. Tell us how that came to be, and then we'll watch a clip shortly.
It's actually, we did this show around the 20th anniversary of a show that we had done with Magic Johnson when he announced his HIV status. It was called A Conversation with Magic. And 20 years later, we spoke with a young gal who was on that show, Hydea, who you'll see in this clip, who had full-blown AIDS back then at age 6, I believe, who is still around. And she said that it seems as though there's a generation that's grown up that doesn't know about this because the medicines have gotten better and people are living longer. It's sort of gone to the back burner. And the fact of the matter is there are still thousands of kids living with HIV. And it's stigmatized, and you know, if somebody knows you have HIV, some people still treat you badly, but everybody treats you differently. So this was a look at some kids who were living with AIDS.
Now, is it a domestic look, or is
yes,
it worldwide?
This is
kids
American
in America.
kids. Yep.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is cut to that clip. We'll give our producers a minute to set that up.
Sure.
And then you can tell us about some more things that are coming through your news programming.
Sometimes that HIV will end up affecting a lot harsher than what I've been going through so far. So maybe one day I might just be gone. Hydea brought the PX5 back years ago. Born as HIV positive to a mother addicted to drugs, Hydea was diagnosed with full-blown AIDS at age 3. She was not expected to live past age 5. We first met Hydea when she appeared on Nick News 20 years ago. She was 6 years old then. You wanted to say something? Since we first met her, she's become a public speaker and has toured the country in an effort to raise AIDS awareness by sharing her story with others.
Hi, my name is Hydea. I'm 10 years old and I have AIDS. So if you know someone with AIDS, feel free to talk to them. America has grown complacent. We've forgotten to educate the younger generation. So we have people, the first time they meet someone with HIV or AIDS, they're fearful and they don't know how to behave or act towards that person because no one has spoken to them about how to treat someone who has HIV or AIDS.
Well, very moving subjects, no question. Hard to even watch in a way. I guess it's a good time to ask you, given the body of work you've done over 30 plus years, what are you most proud of?
Boy, it's hard to say. We do so many shows for Nick News that are so moving to all of us who even produce them. We did one last year called Family Secrets, and it's about kids who live in homes where there is domestic violence going on. And that's another very tough subject. But we found kids that were willing to talk about it, and it's a really terrific show, and we're very proud of that one.
Wow. Is your mission, what's your mission with these news programs for this age group?
It's really to give kids a voice, and to really connect them to the larger world, and to connect them to kids who may be different from them, to shine a light on some kids that they may not have known about.
That makes sense.
And to try to give them a voice in shaping their world.
Wow. Have you found, do these shows appear ever on clips on YouTube and things like that?
They do. They go to iTunes where they're free downloads after
Okay.
we air them on Nickelodeon. And we also have a website, nicknews.com, where they go and live. So that if you miss them on the air, there's plenty of opportunities to see them afterwards.
So producing has changed a little bit as technology has changed. Is that fair to say?
Sure has. When we first started this show, we didn't use the internet. We had to find kids by using a telephone, and do you know anybody who knows somebody who knows somebody?
Yeah.
And now it's a lot easier to find kids. But,
well, since you air these on your website and on iTunes and so forth, you must get some reader comments.
We do.
Viewer comments, I guess. And I would imagine they run the gamut.
They do.
Do you have folks that are angry that you're approaching these subjects with young children, or is it mostly, do you get comforting words from your audience?
Sometimes we get anger. We were doing a show, I guess it was about 10 years ago, about kids whose parents, who had one or more parents who were gay.
Okay.
And before we shot a frame of it, there was a firestorm of protest because they didn't think it was age appropriate for Nickelodeon.
Interesting.
We made the show anyway. Nickelodeon proceeded, and it was a great show. And people, when they saw it, realized there really was nothing to be afraid of. These were kids who had nothing to do with their parents' sexuality.
Right, right. Oh, I bet. Can I ask if that one won?
That one did not win an Emmy.
I bet it was nominated.
I think it was.
I
yeah.
think it probably was. Terrific. So tell us a little bit, you mentioned how you sort of program well in advance to get everybody on the same page. What are some of the things that are coming in the future on Nick News?
Well, other than the one about Syrian refugees that I mentioned that's coming up in a couple of weeks, we are doing one about the 60th anniversary of the Brown v. Board of Education decision.
Great.
To try to see how far we've come or have not come in integrating schools in this country.
Okay.
We have one coming up about sports injuries that seem to be on the rise in middle school and high school, and trying to figure out why that is.
Yeah.
Are people hitting harder, or what's going on there? There are a lot of sports injuries in this age group. Trying to think. We have one that's coming up about animal testing, where that's sort of gray. You may be opposed to animal testing for cosmetics, but what about if it's to save your grandmother's life? So there are sort of, we've always introduced the idea of gray to kids, that everything's not black and white. There are some tough decisions and some sort of gray areas that, you find yourself changing your opinion.
Do you find that your programs are going into schools? Are they too controversial to be broadcast?
I'm not so sure. I think some teachers will roll clips here and there, but yeah, I'm not sure that there's any official sort of
distribution in that regard.
Not in school now.
Okay. I imagine when you produce these programs that you have to find a lot of experts too, or is it, you mentioned the voices of children, is it really mostly all the children, or do you have to sort of
we try to
check in
keep
with
the
experts?
grown-ups to a minimum, but sometimes you need them. Sometimes you need an expert to sort of lay the landscape and sort of you need an expert sometimes.
Yeah. So you bring folks in as needed.
We bring them in as needed, but mostly it's kids testifying and telling personal stories.
Interesting. So I have a 12-year-old, and he wants to make movies, as I'm sure a lot of our viewers' children or them themselves would like to do. what do you
Well,
do
it's
if
great.
you
I
want to
mean,
be a
now
producer these days?
there are so many tools where you can do it yourself at home and really sort of make a little reel by yourself and come up with some ideas and shoot them and cut them and do it all on your computer. So you get a head start with that kind of thing. But yeah, I would say to anybody that wanted to get in the business to start that way. Get your ideas on tape or on some sort of get it out there. Get it on YouTube. And
do you survey as a do you survey things on YouTube to sort of get ideas or to bring people in, or not, you know, like the music company may look at, you know, new artists on iTunes and see who they want to bring in, and same with
we have done shows about kids who have become stars via the web stars, we call them.
I bet that's
and
popular.
so we have hunted for them on YouTube and found some really great ones.
And found some good ones.
Yeah.
Wow, it sounds like a lot of fun what you do.
It is.
I
It
mean,
is. It's a great team that I work with, led by Linda Ellerby.
Yeah.
Lucky Duck Productions is the name of our outfit, and I've been very proud to work there for 21 years.
So you went from NBC to Lucky Duck, and Lucky Duck produces for, produces for Nickelodeon now.
Correct.
Okay.
It's Linda's company, Lucky Duck, and we license the show to Nickelodeon.
And you've licensed shows that you've done to Lifetime and some other networks. What did you do for Lifetime?
We worked on Intimate Portraits, which were their biography series, no longer happening, and we did some.
Was that for children? Portraits
no,
of kids?
These were
is totally different.
just biographies. Just another thing that we did at Lucky Duck. And I'm trying to think, Lifetime. SoapNet was another network that we served, where we used to do, you know, before they were soap stars, those kind of countdown-y sort of stuff. Yeah.
Right. So I have to ask, you've won so many Emmys. What was it like winning your first? And what was it like winning the 10th?
It never gets old, I'll tell you that. Yeah, it's the same thrill and shock, you know, because you're usually up against some pretty good stuff, and so you know, you never know going in, but it's always a thrill.
And it's true, you really don't know.
You don't.
No one tells you beforehand, so
Nobody
that
knows.
you have your speech set or anything like that. Well, that must be incredible.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Your most recent Emmy?
Was for the AIDS program.
For what we just saw?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. So a lot of people are coming into this having used GoPro cameras, and we were talking about the young folks doing this. Are there still traditional programs in colleges to sort of get your child into production? And is it like called computer technology now, or is it still television production?
Well, there are some television production and you know, film departments, and they're popping up all over the place. There are some famous ones, of course, in Syracuse and Emerson and out west. There are a number of them, and they're tough to get into. The film schools are tough.
It's something a lot of people want to do. Do you think your philosophy to bring voices of children out and be authentic in that, is that something that is very unique to what you're doing? Yeah,
I think we're the only ones out there really doing it right now. We're the longest running kids news and current events show on the air, and yeah, I think it's pretty unique. I mean, this show about domestic violence, you've never heard kids talk about this.
No.
This is a very unique program.
Yeah, absolutely, I bet. What's the difference between your news programming and a documentary?
Well, you know, they're sort of, the subject matter, you know, really sort of dictates how you're going to approach the thing. But yeah, I guess it's a series of interviews that we sort of conduct either with kids or with grown-ups.
How long are the shows?
Our shows are 22 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little shorter than I thought. So that's a big difference. So do you ever
so we have to
think about doing longer pieces?
Not for Nickelodeon, because they pretty much...
Their formula, their positioning is...
We're commercial-free, which is good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So you have to pack in a lot into 22 minutes for these. I mean, these are big topics.
They're big topics.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of editing on the scripts?
Yes, tons.
Yeah.
Tons.
So for that 22 minutes, how many hours of video do you typically have?
Oh, a lot of tape, and I would say for each show, we're in the edit room for at least a month.
A month?
Yeah, we probably shoot for a month. We probably edit for a month.
Wow.
Because we go all around the country. It's a national show. We don't just do local
you don't
kids.
just do it here. So
all around the world, really.
Right. So there's a lot that goes into this,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. What's your favorite part of it?
Wow, I guess seeing the finished product. I mean, it's a team, and everybody plays their role. And then when we finally get to screen the finished product, it's really satisfying to most of us. That we've really pulled it off. That we had an idea, and here it is, and it looks okay. Yeah.
Right. Do you have like a little market research group of children that watch first, or give you opinions on early versions of it, or anything like that?
The client does that. They sort of give us notes and let us know what they think. But,
let us know what to change.
No, we don't run it by kids first.
Oh, no market research in this particular field, I see. So you've told us our favorite thing. What's the most surprising thing that you've learned from being a producer?
Surprising thing. I guess I was surprised at how much kids know about current events. I mean, young kids.
Yeah,
when we first started, I was like, wow, I'm really shocked that they know so much about things that are in the news. And one of our missions was to be able to let kids contribute at the dinner table conversation about the news. We never tried to shy away from anything that was tough. So, some parents will go around turning over magazine covers with bad news, and we just figured, let's figure out a way to tell them so that they can be part of the conversation.
That's great. It must be satisfying.
It is.
No question. And certainly as viewers here, we wish you another 31 years of programming,
thank you so
because
much.
it certainly makes a difference in the world, and I suppose that's the most satisfying thing as well, just being able to inform the public and bring out these issues in such a poignant way.
It is very satisfying. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for we have to wrap up now, but for our final discussion or talk, what do you hope happens in Nick News going forward?
Well, I hope we go on forever. I mean, I don't know that will happen, but I think it's been a great program. We've seen, I don't know how many generations of kids pass through our...
through it.
Yeah, and so, and there's always a new topic to be tackled, and so I feel like we could go on forever.
I hope you do.
Me too.
Oh. Well, I want to thank our viewers and say goodnight to them, and certainly thank you.
Thank you.
For joining us. It's
Thanks
been
for having me,
wonderful.
Marcel.
Thank you. Good night.